Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We're going to step through dollar 10-year yield and work our way through precious metals and all the different commodities. I'm going to give you my financial opinion, let you know kind of what I'm seeing in the markets. And it's looking quite strong today for the commodity crew. That's what I'll say there. Very nice moves higher across the board. But let's see if these moves are sustainable, which ones look the best in my opinion. And again, if you really want my full details, join the Platinum membership in the description link below, and you can see all my picks for what I think is coming up. And some of the picks today that we were looking at, just even this past weekend, were up 10-12% today. So let's take a look real quick. Let's dive in. We've got the 10-year yield here. And the reason we keep looking at the 10-year yield, I'll kind of just remind everybody why we do this. The 10-year yield is really what prices assets in the world. This is where the smart money's at. And we can gauge what the market thinks about inflation, deflation, crashes coming ahead of us through the 10-year yield. If this 10-year yield dives down to the downside, and it looks almost like an uncontrolled sell-off, people are running into bonds because they're afraid of something. They're afraid of a market crash, and the smartest money in the world is running to safety. But we are not seeing that at this time yet. What we're doing is we're actually establishing, see these big three candles here, these big three green up days with very large strength. What that means is someone is dumping bonds, not buying bonds, almost as if they're afraid of inflation. We've had this increase in the yields going higher. We were up again today at 0.56%. We're coming up against a longer-term resistance line here that we are mounting buying pressure to try to break out to the upside. That's why we see this large up candlestick here attacking the resistance line. And when you look at this bottom here, you can see large buying pressure months and slow, small selling pressure in between. We've consolidated here in this, we'll call it pattern. We broke to the upside again, and we're consolidating right underneath the resistance line. It's not by happenstance that we're consolidating right underneath this large resistance line going across here that we've used over time. What we're doing next is we're establishing a rest point, a consolidation period where we're going to try to break through it. There's a little bit of selling pressure through this region. We're hitting that selling pressure, trying to break through it, and I think we're going to break through it at some point. The 10-year yield is highly correlated to oil. They are, I'll say, sides of the same coin. When the oil price goes up, usually the 10-year yield goes up. They're pretty highly correlated. And I think that we have problems in the energy market, which is going to force interest rates higher. That interest rate prices / reprices assets around the world. So when the interest rates go up, that means that bonds are selling off and people are less likely to speculate in stocks, and their models that they use for risk-free return, they call it a risk-free return in bonds, treasury bonds. As those yields go up, they discount in their discounting net present value calculations, lower valuations in growth stocks, technology stocks. So this is going to put pressure on technology companies and the S&P 500 to perform going forward, because the higher interest rates is going to value those stocks less valuable with net present value future cash flow calculations. And that's why all of this is so important, why we watch this so much. So if we have increasing oil prices, which puts pressure on inflation, I think we're going to see a breakout to the upside of interest rates for the 10-year, which is going to put pressure on regular stocks, S&P 500, NASDAQ type stocks. The commodity stocks are going to love this. They're going to absolutely love it. Looking at TLT, this is the bond prices. I've looked at this before. I've talked to people on the Platinum members. Every weekend I talk about this. This does not look good. This looks like we're going to go lower in bond prices. Yields go higher, prices go lower of the bond prices. We zoom in, we've broken out of this kind of rising wedge to the downside. I still don't see any buying pressure in here for bonds at this time. It doesn't mean it can't change quickly, but we're looking at it and I just don't see it yet. And I don't see a ton of selling pressure either. I mean, we've had a couple of bearish engulfing, kind of a bearish move there. The sellers are there. They're outweighing the buyers, but we're kind of, we'll call it cooling off a little bit here. And then we've got the 30-year yield that's broken to the upside. So we're seeing the 10-year yield go higher and the 30-year yield go higher. And we've broken a long-term downtrend resistance line. Let me take it off logarithmic there. Long-term resistance line to the upside for yields. It's a major breakout. And this could be a paradigm shift from stocks and bonds and that 40-year decline starting from here to here. That is a 40-year decline in interest rates, and that we're seeing the bottom of this, we'll call it bull market in bond prices, that it's finally ending. And if that is the case, the 60-40, whatever they call it, bond to stock portfolio doesn't work well when both stocks and bonds go down from higher yields. So we're kind of coming up to a paradigm shift. In my opinion, that is the correct view because we've broken the long-term downtrend line, and it looks like we're ready to go even higher. That's where you want to be looking at commodities, and commodities are absolutely ripping it. Let's see if we can break to the upside of this little resistance line we've got going on here. But commodities higher, stocks lower. That's going to look really good on the ratio when we look at that chart. Gold also higher. We had a weaker dollar, and we had increasing 10-year yield. I am waiting for that dollar to roll over. I don't know if we're going to get that rollover with such weak currencies around the world. We've had lots of inflation over in Europe. And I think that America is going to catch up and the dollar may get weaker. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm really speculating on the dollar getting weaker. We've got a lot of dollar bulls out there, and I usually take the opposite bet from the majority. But we're seeing some buying pressure here right on the support line. I have not changed any of my support lines. I drew these a long time ago, and we're just going back and forth across these support levels. I like gold here. In fact, I do think it looks good. I think silver is looking better. I do like it in this general vicinity. Will we get any more downward pressure? Tough to say in the short term, but I think it looks good down here. We've broken a downtrend line. That is where you need to get your senses and awareness heightened. You break the downtrend line, you pop up, and we've pulled back a little bit. I still like it here. At platinum, same thing. We've pulled and broken the downtrend line in the short term. We've pulled back to another support line. I like getting things off support lines. That's the way that I play it. Obviously, you guys can play it however you'd like. And it's not supposed to be meant as advice, but that's how I play it. XAU to gold ratio, we are quite low. We're using this as support. We've bounced back up. Again, we still need to break this long-term downtrend line for the miners to go ballistic. But I will say low, higher low, higher low, and it does look like we're getting this rounding type bottom going on here. That's usually a bottoming pattern. So for those who are ultra patient, like myself, I like to buy down here and cost average in at very low levels. That's just how I play the game. I'm not in the game for short-term, quick little movements. I'm in the game to make big money. Big money requires people to buy early when everyone else thinks that something is not good. So I'm an accumulator, even if I have to accumulate for a couple of years at bottoms and buy this entire rounded bottom area. I have no problem buying this entire area down here and selling it eventually and hopefully up here where the ratio is much more expensive and at the same time gold's increasing. That means that mining companies could dramatically revalue themselves against gold and against other assets as gold appreciates against those other assets as well. That just means that you're getting a repricing of your purchasing power in your investments. So looking at GDX, this is the companies themselves. Again, we're approaching this support resistance area. It's an entire area in here. We've got a lot of stock being traded in that area. It's going to provide very good support. That is where I like to be looking. We've broken the downtrend line. We've been moving sideways here. in the short term. I really like it in this general vicinity myself. Silj, another one that looks really good in this general vicinity. I like it. Downtrend line being broken. We're getting some buying pressure here, and I like it in this general vicinity. If you guys want to know the individual stocks that I'm playing this with, definitely subscribe to the Platinum membership. I'll show you exactly what I'm buying and what's going on there. Coming on down, crude oil heading higher. So what are we looking at? We've got a downtrend line, which is this line right here, that line right there. We've come on down. We've basically broken that. We broke it up here. They released some more news, tried to hold this thing down. I don't know if they can hold this thing down much longer. They being the Federal Reserve, the government, Strategic Petroleum Reserve releases, whatever the heck they're trying to do. I think it's going to fail in the long term, irrespective. We've got this resistance support line. We're breaking back above that resistance line. I do think that this has the tendency, by looking at these candlesticks down here, to continue higher. So that looks very good. Now, natural gas, on the other hand, we're getting a little bit of selling pressure up here. We know the selling pressure is up there. What I want to see now, we've got a bearish engulfing or bearish piercing pattern. What that means is that we gapped higher, we opened the price there, and we came and sold below the 50th percentile of the candlestick before it. That usually means that we are going to have a move lower, but I wouldn't get all afraid. What we need to do is not panic. Again, I'm a long-term investor. I know this is going to work out in the long term. Now, what we're monitoring here next, how far is this thing going to pull back? Are we going to pull back here? Are we going to pull back down here? Or are the buyers going to come in and say, nope, we're going to reverse it right back? We need to see what the reaction is to this move. That is what we want to see. Now, here we had a little bit of a tightening or squeezing up, and then we broke to the downside. We came back to this level. We hit our head again at this level and reversed and came back to a higher level. I think that we are going to come back somewhere between where this closing price is and above this guy there. So somewhere in this vicinity is my guess is what we're going to pull back to if we're in a strong market, which I think we are. Now, again, we may or may not get that pullback. I'm working off statistics and probabilities. So we could see the buyers come in here and just blow it higher. And that's why I don't try trading this in the very short term. So it's looking good. We're right at that resistance line, and we're playing with that resistance line. We know the sellers are up here. We can see all the tops of these wicks. Wick, 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 wick. A wick at the top, a wick at the top. These are buy up, sell off, buy up, sell off, buy up, sell off. So we're hitting our head on this, and we haven't broken through that resistance line yet. But when we break through it, it's probably going to be an epic break. So in my opinion, I'm staying in the stocks for myself, because if we break out of this thing, I think it could be a violent move. Now, looking at XOP, these are kind of a representative of the spider oil and gas exploration production companies. We do have a little bit of a wick at the top, which means that we got bought up and we sold off throughout the day. Now, are we going to head lower a little bit? Are we going to head higher? The short term's the hardest to read. But if you scroll back out a little bit, we do kind of have this kind of head shoulder that everyone tries talking about. I don't think it's a legit head and shoulder. I think that we could see some selling pressure here in the short term and then a move higher again. But that's speculation. I don't like playing the short term. And right now it does show us that we've got a little bit of sellers where we're at. We've had selling pressure here, here, and here before. Those are those big red guys that came down, and eventually we pushed ourselves and came back lower. There is selling pressure in this region. Is there enough selling pressure to hold us down? That's what we're going to find out here. This is an important area, I think, where if we make a move higher, we could see a vast move higher. And the reason I say that is we're kind of at this area where I've got a trend line. You can tighten it up through here, and we've got a support line. We've hit our legs on this support line and used it to bounce back up. I think if we can get a little bit of more momentum here, and if oil starts heading higher, I think we are going to be moving up in a long, drawn-out kind of move. So it's looking very good. So we've got the breakout, the back test, and now we're free to move higher if the buyers want to push us higher. And a lot of big moves were happening in that area. Now, the energy service companies, again, on the platinum members, you know how bullish I am on the energy service companies. You know which companies I really, really like. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. We're just kind of breaking out to the upside. You know the companies that I've been loading in. And I think we're going to see, hopefully, a good move out of the energy service companies at some point. Is that point going to be exactly now? It's looking pretty good. I wouldn't bet against it. That's what I'm going to say. It looks real good breaking out here. We may go sideways a little bit more if it deems necessary, but it's looking good. I really do like it here. I'll just kind of... So coming on down and looking at uranium. So uranium's still moving sideways. We're at that dead period. That dead period is when the buyers equal the sellers. The fundamentals of anything energy related look very good right now. I have no reason to suspect that this won't break to the upside. The opportunities in uranium are here. They're right upon us. I'm going to release the midweek update tomorrow on the companies that I really like. I want to make sure that things are looking really good in uranium still. And I think they look good. I think it looks like they're trying to bottom here. And I'm getting a lot more bullish on them. A lot more bullish. Looking at the Sprott Uranium Trust, we've broken the downtrend line. That is a big deal. Don't discount that. That means something. And we're holding above a support line. Again, that's where I like to be looking. Right in here. This is it. We're getting a little bit of buying pressure. That's good. Uranium is also using it as support and bouncing off that support line. I like it, and the buyers are showing up. Let's see what tomorrow brings us. If we see a nice little day, you'll know which companies I'm really looking at adding into tomorrow at that midweek update for the Platinum members. Description link below. Camco also heading higher. That's looking good. This is kind of our leader. Downtrend line break. A retest of it, coming back to support, and we're starting to move higher. We still have work ahead of us. We still have some large candlestick selling pressure in here, and these big up days are not that large in relationship to the down pressure. I want to see what happens coming up with the buyers. If the buyers step in here, that is very good. If the sellers step in, well, we're going to get cheaper prices to buy at if we get a reversal candlestick tomorrow. So I want to see what happens. And obviously, subscribe to the channel if you guys want to get these daily updates. TAN, which is Invesco Solar, I think it still looks great. We've got the downtrend line break. On a monthly candlestick, we've got a bloody nose, which is a continuation pattern to the upside. So again, we've got good symmetry here. You break this in half, this guy looks like this guy. Buyers and sellers, buyers and sellers. We have to break through the selling pressure in here to get up to the promised land up there. So it's working its way through it. I think it looks really good. If you're pro solar, you know, that's up to you on what you want to do there. But that's looking better. Copper is looking strong, guys. Like I said, I think the bad times may be behind us. I've been humbled a few times. Don't worry. We've got a broken downtrend line, bullish engulfing today. That looks good to go higher. That looks very good. Again, there's a lot of good opportunities in this sector. We've been buying down here. If you're part of the website and you know which companies, you Platinum members know which ones I like and which ones I've been loading up in. And looking at the CRB to S&P 500, that is continuing higher. It looks very strong. We're getting strength in the commodities in dollar terms. We're getting a little bit of weakness in the overall markets. Commodities are continuing to outperform stocks. This is the spot that you want to be. And here's my opinion here. We've got a wave one that we've kind of came up. We had a little bit of a pullback. Maybe that's wave two. Maybe we get a larger wave down in the future. I don't think that's the case. Everything looks really good, and we're breaking things to the upside with support underneath us. Wave three is going to come at some point. I don't know the exact sizing of this. We could throw a, and I'll do that for you guys. I'll do a trend-based fib extension. If we were to go from the bottom kind of to the top and back, could we go somewhere up in this 2.618? 1.618 is the golden ratio. That's kind of what we use as a potential move. Sometimes it goes 2.618, sometimes 3.618, and sometimes 4.236. Anywhere in this range. If we go all the way back up, well, that gets us back to what we were in 2008. So I do think we're going to have a big move. I'm not going to tell you the exact time frame because I'm not going to lie and be like, yeah, it's going to happen in 1 year or 2 years. It's going to happen in a little bit of time. It's going to take some time to do this. 2, 3, 4, 5 years. definitely within realm. So that's looking really good. Looking at REMX, the rare earth metals, again, I love this chart, guys. Maybe I just a charting type guy. Nice, good support. On the platinum membership, back in this corner, I was liking it, buying it, and here we are moving higher. It's still looking really good. We've got lithium moving higher as well. We had a little bit of a sell-off, no reversal candlesticks in here. It was just a sell-off, and here we are moving higher again. So lithium looking actually pretty good. Scrolling down and look at the S&P 500. The S&P 500 does look like it's firming up a little bit. The opening and closing prices is equaling out. And we'll see if we get a turn here or not. But it was a down day, and the rest of the commodity market was an up day. The U.S. NASDAQ composite was flat today, and there's no reversal candlestick on either of these. This very well could go lower still. We'll have to see what tomorrow shows us. Coming on down to XHB, the home builders. I always look at this. Again, this is very close to the S&P 500 and similar to the NASDAQ. We've broken the downtrend. That's step number 1 is break the downtrend. Step number 2 is to make a higher high. Step number 3 is a higher low, and then to break it. And I think we're in the process of doing all that. It looks good. Lumber firming up a little bit, right where it's at, getting a little bit of support. We'll see how that works out tomorrow. Cocoa futures still heading a little bit lower. We had a broken downtrend here, and we're doing a retest of that broken downtrend. We're getting real close to it, so I think cocoa futures is probably going to reverse here soon. Wheat heading higher, a little bit of a wick at the bottom. Looks like we get a little bit of selling pressure. I can draw a little, line through here if you want. A little bit of a resistance line coming through here. We're squeezing between support and resistance here. We've got soybeans squeezing up as well. I do think this could potentially break to the upside. We're seeing a lot of commodity strength. And then corn's also breaking out of its channel today. That looks really good. Could it do a little bit of a back test before heading higher? It could, but that's looking a lot better. This here that I just described will be positive for fertilizer companies. And as you know, I've been buying some fertilizer companies if you're part of the membership. Copper also heading higher on it a little bit, almost putting in a bullish engulfing. We'll see tomorrow if that is going to go higher or not, but broken down trend line, still looking good, and it's meandering its way higher. So everything looks A-okay there. Looking at MOO. MOO is an agricultural ETF, and it is moving higher today. A nice little pop, broken down trend line. I think this will continue higher. It looks great. Nothing bad to say there. We've got aluminum. Aluminum starting to move higher. You know my take on this. And this here is putting in a bottom. I think we're going to move higher soon. I would be looking at aluminum right now. I think that smelters or companies that are in America with lower energy prices are at an advantage to those that are in Europe and China and other areas where they could have problems with electricity and natural gas pricing. They are probably going to shut down, which is going to put even more of a benefit on companies that are either hedged their energy costs or are in low energy cost areas. So I think there's an investment opportunity around that. We've talked about some of these companies in the Platinum membership during those question and answer sessions. They've been in some of my midweek updates on that. There's also a couple other companies that have done very well in energy service companies that are starting to move real higher that we've talked a lot about as well. We're also seeing a little bit of support in the Baltic Dry Index. The Baltic Dry Index and China, the slowdown in China and the fears there have been getting hit a little bit. But I would not be quick to sell my shares in the sector because I still think there's a lot of potential there. And these guys have some pretty ridiculously looking charts where they could go ballistic to the upside. You know which ones those are as well. So that's what I've got for today. I think, things are looking pretty strong for commodities. We've got broken down trends. Some of these areas are back testing support in precious metals. Now, I know precious metals aren't the favorite right now. That's why it's one of my favorites. I think that I go to where the sellers and buyers are not. I go where the people are not. And that's where your opportunities are at, is buying things when they're incredibly low. Now, Natural gas, we'll see what happens there. If we're going to hit our head and bounce back, we got to see how far back it bounces. If we don't bounce back very much and we start heading up again, we could go for it here, guys. There are sellers up there. We're going to have to break through it. A lot of other areas have opportunities in it right now. So if you want to know what those opportunities are, definitely I'm going to talk about them tomorrow in my midweek update. I want to see how they kind of firm out. Some of them are already up on the website, and you can see what they are and which companies I prefer. And you can see it in the question and answer session with the Platinum membership, which companies I really like. But if you guys like the content, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website, the Platinum membership, if you'd like. And hopefully you had a good day, guys. Hopefully you had a good day. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.